The greatest gift you can give somebody is your time.
So where you bought this? Was it from the Royal United? Or?
Yes. Hello, sorry, I've got 2 children, please.
We need to do something, think about a Christmas party now.
I don't think you can recognise and thank volunteers enough for what they do. And this morning I've just been looking through the nominations, and every year I feel the same. I'm just blown away by by the nominations, and it's so difficult to pick 1, 2, 3. We have over 2,000 organisations who are charities or not-for-profit organisations, which makes us very lucky. There's so much diversity and opportunities for people to volunteer. We're now sitting at the present time in Bath Central Library. If we go, I don't know, half a mile down the road, we've got the Holborn, which is over 200 volunteering opportunities working there. There's also outside the Bath Abbey, twice a day we have the Mayor's Guide who take people around the beautiful city of Bath, all volunteers. There's so much diversity of volunteering opportunities.
This building was the market hall for Radstock. It was built in 1898. There's lots of stories about what went on in here. You could buy virtually anything you wanted to. Apparently you could have your teeth pulled, your hair cut, buy anything really. And the miners, of course, would come in, they get their wages, sat on the county bridge just outside, get their wages, come in here and spend half of it straight away, and then go in the pub and spend the rest. The Museum Society was looking for a home for the museum. They looked at various sites in the area, and they were very fortunate to get support of the local council to be able to take on this building. It's not a mining museum, although that is a big feature of it. We do feature other industries, general home life, school life, social industrial heritage of the local area around the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century is the main focus.
If it hadn't been for the museum, it would have just been pulled down and done away with. What they'd have put here in its place, I don't know. It covers anything really about Radstock. If it isn't in here, then it wasn't.
Hello, sorry, I've got 2 children, thank you very much.
We couldn't run without the volunteers. I mean, the volunteers do virtually everything that goes on in the museum, really. There's an education group of maybe 15 to 20 people who look after the school visits and things to do with educational activities, special days we put on. Another group who does the cataloguing and looking after the collection, another group that puts together our local history journal. The day-to-day running, we always have volunteers operating the front desk, the shop, the tea room, and stewards showing people around and advising them.
We've got one lady that comes in once a year in January, and she polishes all the brasses for us. Comes in once a year. There's others, like me, that are quite often here 3 or 4 times a week. But a lot of them only come in for, like Clive, he normally comes in just for about 3 hours on a Saturday morning.
I've been a volunteer for about 2 years. It started when I did work experience here for a week, and I really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd come along and just join in, yeah.
Would you like to do a little quiz? It's just in the school room in there. I'll give you a pencil and you get a prize.
I'm very interested in geography and history, English literature and sciencey side of things. So I think that it has helped me kind of more decide on what I want to do as a job.
And these funny things here, can you see that one there? We found the first fossilised one of those at Kilmerston, and they actually named it Kilmadonis. When I retired, quite an active working life, and sitting down at home, twiddling the thumbs and just mowing the lawn just wasn't me, I'm afraid. And I saw an advert in the paper that asked for volunteers to clean and repair the artefacts. I'm afraid it developed from there. I'm a trustee, of course, but I'm also a steward, so I do take people around and tell them about the museum. That's a headmaster's hat, look. Put that on? Yeah. Anybody got a camera? Yeah. He's the headmaster there, look.
The only people that are paid here are the manager and the cleaner. Everybody else is a volunteer, and volunteers get lots of satisfaction because they can either do as much or as little as they like.
I was talked into it in the first place. Once I stopped working, I did come more regularly, but only sort of once a week or twice a week. Not full time, you know.
Will you get used to doing it, and what would you do otherwise, you know?
We get lots of support and help from all our colleagues here, and to me, it's my sort of working therapy, really.
I think it's good for people my age to get into it because sometimes teenagers get a bit of a bad reputation in the news and things.
I always say people can come and get as involved as much or as little as they want. We're sort of welcome, and we welcome anybody really with skills, or anybody who wants to come along and help. We're yes, please.
Somebody asked me what's a typical volunteer. There is no typical volunteer because everybody's different. I speak to people that may be looking to enhance or build a CV, that they've just left school and they haven't really got a lot on that CV, and they're looking to enrich and make it a stronger CV. Or it may be somebody that's coming up to retirement and they're worried what they're going to do with all their free time. But what's really interesting, lots of people don't realise they're a volunteer. And when you talk to somebody, so I'm not a volunteer, and you talk through, well, actually, what do you do? And I help somebody, I assist. And actually, that's volunteering, but unfortunately, we live in a society now that everything has to be badged and labelled. But there are lots of people that volunteer their services and help each other.
This was the first project that I got involved with. There are the garages removed on this side and some of them down there to give us sort of more parking space, and we have this sort of landscapes, and they've actually got daffodils on in the spring. We've been doing our own little bits to sort of make this more attractive. We've been taking over various flower beds. They look a bit sort of drastic at the moment, but when it was in bloom they did look quite attractive. And this is a combination from the outside and the inside. We're using Nola's garden as well as this space. But if it looks as though it's cared for, then people aren't going to use it as a rubbish dump, hopefully. Hopefully. Morning, Heather. He's probably aching.
I am the only one this morning, I'll tell you. In your own time.
Hello, baby. This is Foxhill Point. This is our community room. Used to be a laundry, but it was frequently vandalised, so they decided to convert it into a community room for the use of residents.
We need to do something, think about a Christmas party now. Has anybody got any ideas of what we can do for Christmas? I mean, I know sort of a couple of years ago we did that carol procession around the estate.
Oh,
that
right,
sort of
yes.
worked out quite well. And I mean, sort of that gets out to sort of perhaps sometimes the older people, not just the kids, because the kid party was for the kids more or less, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I said if we could talk to Steve at the church and say, well, you know, sort of we'd like to do that. And another thing I've got in mind is asking the sequence dance group at Foxhill to do a tea dance.
Well, Patricia really is the leader of everything here. I mean, she does that much. I don't know how she fills it in, because every day there's something new that she does. She's always writing up leaflets and going around and posting them and getting people involved.
She's made it a brighter place to live in. She's always knocking on my door, trying to get me to do something or other. Nags.
Definitely.
And it's got to be done her way.
We come down here Monday afternoons to knit and natter, like Kath and I, and you come sometimes, don't you? And you know, she arranges like, you know, we pay like £1 a week or whatever, and then we go out like, say to Midsummer Norton.
Sometimes she does wear herself out because she does so much, but she is the leader campaigner on the estate.
But then I couldn't do it without the people that support me all the time. You can't do it on your own. And I said it's the fact that people do support me, and when I do things, that it gets done. Because as I learn from their experience, because most of these have been volunteers in some other field anyway. So I said it's a learning curve for me, and I enjoy it.
Sometimes you have to make the time to volunteer, or sometimes it's actually worth making that time because there's something, I'm thinking you for personally what you personal gain out of this. For example, if you've been in a job for a long time and you're coming up to retirement age and you're not sure what you want to do, it's a real good, safe way to try various things to see, to surprise yourself. You know, you may find things that perhaps you wouldn't have ever thought that you'd be volunteering and supporting and working in a particular area.
My dad was profoundly deaf. He was totally deaf in one ear and only had 50% hearing in the other. And it completely cut him off from community, and he couldn't partake in things at all because he didn't know how to use his aid, he didn't know to take it to the best advantage, and there wasn't a setup like this clinic is now at that time. And so I met a very dear lady called Kathleen Handover, and her daughter Jane Milligan had actually been the audiologist at the Royal United Hospital. And she realised that once setting people up with the hearing aids, there didn't appear to be any follow-up service for them. And often they would go away with lots of information about the new hearing aids, but they actually got very nervous about using them and didn't quite know how to maintain them. Even though they may have been told how to do it, they'd forgotten with all the information. And so Jane set up a hearing aid clinic for the repairs. And in fact, the wonderful thing about it, it's not just us here now in Midsummer Norton, we've spread throughout the Somer Valley and the local towns, and the clinics are going around all around the Bath and North East district, which is wonderful.
Can you tell me where you got this? Was it from the Royal United? Or? Yes. Yes.
I joined this outfit because I felt with 30 years experience of these wretched things, you know, I might be able to help other people who are at least initially having problems, because although they're tremendous help, there are drawbacks with them which have to be overcome.
I don't think this firm are being used anymore.
Now they are all onto digital hearing aids. They're all very similar But it's rather like having a large car franchise with 10 different makes of car. You don't always have the spares for everything. And some of the hearing aids are redundant or obsolete. And then it's very upsetting for people when they say, no, I haven't got one of those.
New man.
Oh, of course. How much do I owe you? Don't we pay for anything at all?
You can put a donation in if you like.
I find when people come here, they're not always aware of their declining problems in their hearing. And often, when you actually repair a hearing aid for them, they don't actually understand how problematic it was before. And it's like a revelation to them when they actually hear something. And it's simply because it needs updating, or it needs new tubing, or they haven't maintained it in the way that they should. And it really opens up their life when it's been maintained well.
I've got fed up with saying pardon to people, especially in the group. But it's so different. I've yet got to get used to it. Conversation is a great gift, isn't it? The gift of conversation. And hearing people as well. But it's just amazing the difference it's made this morning in 10 minutes.
I do 3 of these repair clinics every month in St Martin's, and this one in Midsummer Norton, and one in Keynsham, and then a number of home visits, mostly for older people who've just acquired their hearing aid, and they need a little more time than the audiologist can give them to talk about it and how it's working.
Well, I think they're blooming marvellous. I mean, not many people do anything for nothing these days. I've had a hearing aid since 1999, I think it was, the first one. A couple of years ago, they changed it and gave me 2 digital ones. And I'm having a bit of trouble at the moment. I've had to buy a pair of headphones to watch the television. They're a bit better. I've just had them retubed with these nice people here. And yes, I'm quite happy at the minute.
The thing is, I say, if you want to volunteer, just come along and see what we're doing and how rewarding it is. It really is. It gives you an extra plus in your life, really. It does.
Volunteer Centre, we're very fortunate. We've got volunteer advisors who are very experienced in their field, and they can spend time with you if you want to volunteer and not sure what you want to do. They can talk through all the opportunities and try and understand really what is your interest, what you're able to give, and actually trying to find that perfect volunteering opportunity for you.